When trading involves fictitious funds, the entire process seems effortless and uncomplicated. You simply select the option to purchase, then to sell, and it all reduces to abstract figures displayed on a digital interface. There is no hesitation, no excessive rumination, and certainly no surge of alarm. However, the instant that account balance transitions into tangible, personally earned capital, a profound internal shift occurs. Abruptly, every minor fluctuation in price carries significant weight. Your pulse accelerates, your respiration becomes constricted, and what was once composed, rational evaluation descends into internal turmoil. This is the aspect of trading that remains largely unspoken. The most formidable challenge is not acquiring technical strategies or interpreting complex charts. It lies in maintaining composure when genuine financial resources are at stake. You might dedicate months to perfecting your trading methodology, yet the moment you expose capital that would genuinely pain you to forfeit, your own mind begins to work against you. It is not your technical proficiency that falters. It is your psychological resilience. Before we continue, make this commitment. This channel isn't about quick fixes, it's about developing traders with mental strength and discipline. If that resonates with you, join us. Subscribe now so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. Stay until the end and keep progressing with us, one mindset shift at a time. This video isn't just another trading video, it's a mirror for your mindset. Like now, comment what resonates, and stay until the end. Because one idea here could change how you think and how you trade. Let's go. There exists a fundamental reason why performance often deteriorates upon transitioning to live trading. Losses incurred in a demonstration account register no emotional impact on the brain, there is simply no consequential fallout. But when the capital is real, that identical loss registers as a genuine peril. Your autonomic nervous system fails to distinguish between a financial setback in a trade and an actual physical threat. To the deeper layers of your psyche, both represent existential dangers. Consequently, the brain rapidly activates a cascade of stress-related hormones. Adrenaline surges, cortisol floods the system, infusing your physiology with acute tension. Your hands may tremble uncontrollably, your attentional focus constricts dramatically, and in that moment, you cease to engage in deliberate trading. Instead, you descend into pure reactivity. This explains why countless traders exhibit near-flawless execution during practice yet disintegrate under real conditions. It is not a reflection of inadequate trading ability. Rather, it stems from never having systematically trained for the intense psychological demands of live markets. They have honed their analytical skills yet neglected the critical work of mastering their inner emotional landscape. Consider the analogy of a pilot who has received extensive training exclusively through flight simulators. Within that controlled environment, every mishap is inconsequential. Errors can be instantly undone with a simple reset. But when that same pilot assumes command of a real aircraft carrying actual passengers and facing irreversible outcomes, the body's response alters dramatically. Palms grow damp with perspiration, breathing patterns shift, and decision-making processes decelerate under the weight of consequence. The pilot remains identically skilled in theory, yet the presence of genuine pressure fundamentally rewires cerebral function. This precise phenomenon unfolds for traders each time they bridge the gap from theoretical practice to live execution. The true distinction between a proficient demo trader and a consistently profitable one resides in emotional resilience, the capacity to endure substantial pressure while preserving mental clarity. Trading at its core is not about achieving flawless outcomes. It is about sustaining psychological equilibrium amid adversity. Anyone can adhere meticulously to a predefined plan during periods of tranquility. The critical question is whether you can uphold that same discipline when your most recent position has just declined by 5%, when your cardiovascular system is racing and the impending decision could either restore equilibrium or exacerbate substantial damage to your portfolio. In those pivotal moments, psychology emerges as the decisive factor shaping your long-term trajectory. Pressure does not merely expose underlying character traits, it amplifies them. With unrelenting intensity. If greed dominates your temperament, pressure will transform it into reckless overreach. If fear predominates, it will manifest as paralyzing hesitation. If impatience defines you, pressure will accelerate self-sabotaging behaviors. This is precisely why seasoned traders assert that live capital reveals unvarnished truth. It dismantles the facade of discipline one maintains when consequences are absent, laying bare the authentic internal composition. Most traders attempt to combat pressure through denial, insisting to themselves that they must remain calm, logical, and adherent to their strategy. Yet the human brain, once gripped by fear, proves impervious to such rational directives. One cannot simply reason oneself out of a physiologically activated stress response. Calmness cannot be commanded into existence. It must be cultivated as an ingrained habit through persistent effort over extended periods. To understand the internal mechanics, consider what transpires neurologically. When intense pressure descends, activity in the prefrontal cortex, the region governing executive function, logical reasoning, and deliberate planning, begins to diminish markedly. Simultaneously, the amygdala, the primitive emotional processing center, assumes dominance. This neurological hijacking explains sudden impulses to prematurely exit positions, adjust stop-loss levels, or aggressively increase exposure. It is not personal weakness, it is the brain's evolutionary imperative to shield you from perceived harm. To the stress psyche, the most immediate alleviation of distress lies in altering the threatening circumstance without delay, hence the seductive, momentary relief derived from impulsive actions. Yet this relief is illusory, as each emotionally driven decision merely generates subsequent emotional complications. Pressure constitutes the unseen adversary every trader must confront. The true opponent is not the external market but one's own internal response to it. As position sizes increase, this internal dialogue intensifies proportionally. Doubt creeps in regarding the validity of your strategic framework, the accuracy of your analysis, and even your fundamental self-worth. Many traders unwittingly link their personal identity to daily profit and loss statements, internalizing losses as indictments of character rather than statistical inevitabilities. Yet this conflation distorts reality. Pressure merely personalizes probabilistic outcomes, converting objective data into subjective anguish. The instant real capital enters the equation, trading transcends mere chart interpretation. It becomes an arena for testing conviction, every choice reflecting the depth of trust you place in your systematically developed approach. Can you maintain composure sufficient to honor holding periods, accept losses with grace, and permit profitable positions to fully mature? This constitutes the authentic crucible of pressure, not the aesthetic appeal of a setup, but the sustained serenity you preserve while inner voices clamor for immediate intervention. Before delving further into these dynamics, permit me to pose a direct inquiry. Are you currently grappling with pervasive fear, persistent doubt, or compulsive overtrading? The uncomfortable reality is that the vast majority of trading failures originate not from flawed methodologies but from deficient psychological frameworks. This recognition inspired the creation of my comprehensive ebook, Master Your Mind, Master Your Trades. It is replete with actionable, evidence-based techniques designed to regulate emotional responses, cultivate unwavering discipline, and elevate your execution to professional caliber. If you are prepared to advance your trading proficiency substantially, I encourage you to access the provided link in the description and pinned comment to secure your copy without delay. With that invitation extended, let us resume our exploration. Reflect upon your most psychologically painful trades, not necessarily those yielding the largest monetary losses, but those that inflicted the deepest emotional wounds. Invariably, you possessed crystal-clear knowledge of the optimal course of action yet failed to implement it. You exited prematurely, relocated protective stops, engaged in retaliatory trading, or violated your own codified rules. These instances represent pressure in its most unadulterated manifestation, the precise juncture where emotion supersedes accumulated knowledge. Pressure cannot be eradicated entirely. One can only develop greater proficiency in navigating its presence. Emotional training mirrors athletic conditioning, achieved through deliberate repetition amid progressively controlled discomfort. The more frequently you encounter stress while refraining from reactive behavior, the more robust your psychological endurance becomes. This is why consistently profitable traders emphasize that discipline is never a singular accomplishment but rather an ongoing regimen of daily reinforcement. When you cultivate the capacity to endure discomfort without capitulation, a transformative psychological recalibration occurs. Losses cease to evoke existential dread because you have internalized that they do not define your intrinsic value. Drawdowns lose their terror as you recognize your proven ability to recover systematically. Pressure itself transforms from perceived threat to evaluative benchmark. This profound shift delineates emotional traders from true professionals. Even highly experienced practitioners never fully extinguish pressure's influence. The distinction lies in their learned ability to transmute it into heightened concentration rather than debilitating fear. They do not attempt emotional suppression. Instead, they ensure emotions remain subordinate to decision-making authority. They accept pressure as an intrinsic component of the profession, acknowledging that inability to manage it precludes sustained profitability. Each instance of live trading serves as a reminder. The objective is not serenity derived from benevolent market conditions but serenity preserved amid market hostility. Genuine growth and consistency emerge not during placid intervals but within turbulent episodes. If you can maintain lucid cognition while your portfolio hemorrhages value, while equity curves decline sharply, while patience reaches its limits, then you have already secured victory on the psychological front. Trading under duress resembles prolonged breath-holding beneath the surface. Novices panic, expend energy futilely, and exhaust reserves prematurely. But who have trained their physiological and mental capacity remain composed, conserve resources, and resurface fortified. The market ultimately compensates those who retain composure while others succumb to overwhelm. Pressure is inescapable. Panic, however, remains a choice. Once you master the discipline of immobility amid intense internal urgency, the compulsion to intervene, pursue, or evade, you begin perceiving the market through transformed lenses. You recognize that ultimate success was never predicated upon price behavior alone but upon the quality of your response to it. This realization marks the inception of authentic mastery. In the early stages of trading, universal advice centers on maintaining calmness, trusting one's system, and adhering rigidly to the plan. Yet few mentors elucidate the practical mechanisms for achieving this when genuine capital is exposed and emotional turmoil erupts. Discipline flourishes effortlessly absent stakes. Patience abounds with demonstration funds. But when the capital represents hard-won earnings, resources capable of covering essential expenses or altering life trajectories, composure emerges as the most arduous competency to sustain. This revelation crystallizes a fundamental truth. Trading constitutes less an intellectual examination than an emotional endurance trial. Each executed position functions as a reflective surface, illuminating your genuine tolerance for psychological strain. Market movements remain indifferent to analytical brilliance. That demand only that you implement insights while physiological arousal peaks and cognition races. The origin of pressure resides not within price charts but within your deeply ingrained relationship with money. Subconsciously, currency symbolizes far more than exchange medium. It embodies security, self-esteem, personal identity, and autonomy. Risking it triggers primal alarms interpreting the act as endangering those foundational elements. Hence, losing positions inflict profound psychological pain, registering as partial self-diminishment. The act of initiating a position transforms the environment into a psychological battlefield where rational faculties contend against emotional impulses. One internal voice advocates planned fidelity, another insinuates catastrophic possibilities and recurrent failure. This conflict transpires not within strategic documents but within the neurophysiological substrate. Many traders attempt intellectual overrides, reciting motivational mantras, affirming statistical normalcy of losses, yet these dissolve when primal fear activates. Pressure responds not to cognition but to conditioning forged through iterative experience. To acknowledge reality, pressure fundamentally alters perceptual and behavioral frameworks. It provokes questioning of established plans, erodes confidence in personal competence, and threatens long-term vision. Isolated setbacks cascade into pervasive doubt. Sequential adversities precipitate panic. Focus narrows from optimal execution to loss recuperation, collapsing disciplined process into emotional pursuit. Paradoxically, pressure serves not as adversary but as rigorous instructor, compelling evolutionary adaptation. Each episode of discomfort forges incremental emotional fortitude analogous to muscular hypertrophy under resistance training. Absent pressure, psychological growth stagnates. The solution lies not in evasion but in strategic utilization as diagnostic feedback. Physiologically, cortisol and adrenaline heighten sensory acuity while constricting broader perspective, priming instinctive action, adaptive for ancestral survival yet counterproductive in markets rewarding deliberate patience. The capacity to defer gratification, to inhabit uncertainty without capitulation, distinguishes professional execution from speculative gambling. Elite poker players confront analogous dynamics, substantial stakes, probabilistic outcomes, yet triumph through trained impassivity, recognizing emotional interference as the primary judgment impair. Most traders have endured the visceral sequence. A position marginally adverse triggers somatic heat, thoracic constriction, and cognitive catastrophizing. Self-reassurance proves futile as cursor hovers over premature closure. Temporary relief yields to regret upon subsequent favorable reversion, revealing self-betrayal rather than market malice. Neurologically, the brain prioritizes uncertainty aversion over loss acceptance, preferring certain minor detriment to probabilistic exposure. Mastery entails tolerating ambiguity sufficiently for strategic rather than reactive decision-making. Authentic composure entails not emotional void but controlled coexistence with effect. Consistent practitioners cultivate detachment not through indifference but through disciplined non-obedience to impulse. Pressure manifests insidiously, tempting stop adjustments, premature profit-taking, compensatory overtrading, each capitulation reinforcing maladaptive neural pathways while resistance fortifies adaptive ones. Constructing resilience commences with metacognitive awareness, recognizing incipient physiological markers of escalating pressure, somatic tension, accelerated ideation, actional urgency, creating decisional interstice. Subsequent acceptance neutralizes resistance amplification, acknowledging effect diminishes its dominance. Finally, systematic exposure desensitizes response magnitude, normalizing once intolerable stressors. Pressure remains perennial. Markets perpetually probe resilience through volatility, streaks, and apparent personalization. Yet each composed navigation accretes psychological armor, transmuting ordinary practitioners into exemplars defined not by strategy superiority but by imperturbable execution. Progress manifests when former triggers lose potency, observing temporary adversity without alarm, accepting setbacks with immediate reorientation, enduring drawdowns while preserving flawless process adherence. This constitutes emotional sovereignty. Not perfection but steadfastness. Even elite operators experience pressure. Mastery lies in respiratory regulation, preparatory trust, and executional focus irrespective of outcome. Trading amid turmoil resembles navigating tempestuous conditions. External forces buffet, auditory distraction abounds, visibility impairs, yet navigational fidelity to internal compass ensures eventual emergence. Panic guarantees disorientation, composure preserves trajectory. Every practitioner aspires to unflappable execution under capital exposure, confidently declaring plan adherence irrespective of circumstance. Yet confronting personal funds renders identical setups viscerally distinct. Cardiac acceleration, Palmer. Perspiration, cognitive erosion. Profitable momentum invites premature securitization. Adversity prompts denial. These constitute not rational deliberation but survival programming misapplied to probabilistic domains. Experience attenuates rather than eliminates pressure, transforming internal conflict into managed dialogue, acknowledging effect without capitulation. Contrary to intuition, larger stakes often intensify rather than alleviate pressure, magnifying representational significance of each incremental movement. Professional detachment severs self-worth from isolated outcomes, evaluating fidelity to process as paramount metric, recognizing markets remunerate behavioral consistency yielding probabilistic favorability. Athletic parallels illuminate excellence derives from repeated high-stakes execution amid external pressure rather than isolated brilliance. Pressure drives comfort seeking through impulsive relief, yet each indulgence atrophies disciplinary capacity while deliberate inaction rewires toward tolerance. Initial resistance proves excruciating, persistence reveals survivability. Absent reaction, catalyzing transformative insight. Individual pressure thresholds vary, break-even proximity, consecutive adversities, overcome through repeated confrontation diminishing potency. Professional precision amid chaos. Mirrors trained marksmen executing despite physiological arousal, clarity. Preceding comfort. Pressure diagnostically exposes habitual foundations. Impulsive frameworks fracture under volatility while disciplined regimens endure. Turbulence analogy extends to aviation. Trained pilots maintain instrument focus amid passenger panic. Trading demands analogous process anchorage, preventing identity erosion. Into desperation. Philosophical grounding, prioritizing executional excellence over outcome, liberates from emotional loading. Pressure redirects productively through observational channeling rather than actional discharge. Self-study via session documentation, emotional cataloging alongside technical review, illuminates recurrent patterns enabling interruption. Composure accretes incrementally through cumulative non-reactive instances compounding into quiet, evidence-based assurance. Advanced practitioners perceive pressure as growth metric rather than existential challenge, recognizing its morphing persistence across scaling milestones. Mastery confers not merely profitability but personal fortitude, navigational clarity amid broader uncertainty. Final encounters with pressure become opportunities. Somatic signals cue disciplined respiration and immobility amid movement. Mastery manifests as internalized flow rather than resistance, neither avoiding nor suppressing effect but channeling through precise execution. Ultimately, trading transcends financial pursuit, becoming profound self-mastery yielding both material reward and existential empowerment. The composed mind discerns opportunity amid apparent disorder, deliberating profoundly while others react superficially. Success derives not from perpetual correctness but from sustained composure enabling long-term probabilistic realization. Thus, approaching each session, inhale deeply and reframe. This engagement concerns neither validation nor immediate result but practiced response amid potential reactivity, remaining anchored within turbulence. Pressure persists yet ceases defining, losses neutralize, Pursuits diminish, execution stabilizes irrespective of external flux. This pinnacle, where composure precedes rather than follows success, distinguishes enduring practitioners. They operate not despite emotion but with disciplined precision throughout it, emerging victorious when chaos overwhelms the unprepared.